Let me start by saying that I'm not speaking as an expert. I will be making my comments as somebody who is curious and follows the events of the world to the extent that they affect Africa. And I'll preface my comments by saying that the international economic and political order is still skewed against the African continent. The African continent is taken for granted. The African continent is placed in a position where it is expected to follow the dictates, particularly from Europe. The former colonizers hold the unspoken view that if anything is happening in their former colonies, then it is incumbent upon those former colonies to simply ask, how high do we jump? The British, therefore, expect their former colonies to do that. The French expect their former colonies to do that. The Portuguese are silent, but I think they do. And the real hegemon in the world, the United States of America, expects everybody to do their bidding. And if you've listened very keenly to some of the commentators on the European conflict in Ukraine, they are actually amazed that it is happening in Europe. And they say in their both guarded and unguarded moments that we are surprised that this is happening in the heart of Europe. It is not happening in the Middle East. It is not happening in Latin America. It is not happening in Africa. And that tells you the contempt with which they hold Africa. That tells you the disdain with which they look at Africa. That tells you how low Africa is in the pecking order. And if you look at the activities of the United Nations organization, both the General Assembly and the Security Council, they are on overdrive. The Secretary General of the United Nations has taken this as something that is so critical. And they don't do that when there are conflicts in Africa. They have not done that in the case of Tigray. They have not done that in the case of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. They have not done that in the case of the Democratic Republic of Congo or Mozambique, or the activities of Boko Haram in the Sahel. And that is a clear message to Africa and Africans that we are not in the international equation when push comes to shove. And it is also clear to us that our affairs are not considered to be primary affairs and that we can be ignored. And if you look at some of the statements from the world leaders, and I'm using the word leaders quite loosely to mean the leaders of the United States of America and European countries, in their view, the world is Europe. The world is the United States of America. The world is the conceptual West to include Australia. The rest of the world, that is to mean Asia, and particularly Africa, can be ignored. The only reason why countries such as India and China are receiving the attention they do is because they are beginning to raid the economic and indeed military territory of the conceptual West.